I'm J. Lenora Bressler, and welcome to the March 30, 2018 Good Friday edition of the Bible Delight in the Details. If you were with us a moment ago, and I know there were some of you that were, you know we had some technical difficulties and it just quit. So we're going to try it again. Good Friday, I know that when I was a little girl, I used to think, well, there was nothing good about it. But of course, there's a lot good about it, because if it were not for Good Friday, there would have been no way for us to be reconciled as sinful human beings to a holy God. So as difficult as it is to think about dear Jesus having to suffer those terrible indignities and the pain of Good Friday, he did it on our behalf. He did it for us, and that is indeed good news for us. Now, there are several symbolic things that happened according to the gospel that I want to point out to you. First is Christ died on a cross, as we know. In the Old Testament, it said, "Cursed is he who dies on a tree." Now, this is why Christ could not be just beheaded or killed in some other way, beaten to death or something like that. He had to be nailed to a cross. He had to die on the tree. Why? Because the whole idea, why would somebody be cursed in the tree? What's all that about? It's all about the fact that sin brings a curse, the curse of death, the curse of separation from God. And Christ became sin for us on that Good Friday, so that that curse could be paid, that punishment could be paid for, and so then we didn't have to pay for it. Second of all, we know from the Gospels that Christ was placed on the cross at 9 in the morning and died and was taken off the cross at 3 o'clock. What's the significance of that? Well, there's two things. Number one, 9 and 3 o'clock were the times when in the temple the morning and the evening sacrifices were being performed. So the lambs, the perfect blemish-free lambs, were being sacrificed just as the ultimate Lamb of God was being sacrificed at 9 and at 3 on Passover day itself. The other interesting thing is he was on the cross for 6 hours. Now, what is the significance of that? In numerology in the Bible, numbers mean things, and 6 is indicative of the number of man. We were created on the 6th creation day. And so if Christ was taking our place, the place of mankind on the cross, then it would be appropriate that he would be there the length of time representative of man, 6. It is also interesting, and I want to point this out to you because this can be very confusing to people. When you think about what Christ said on the cross, we know that there were several things that the gospel indicates he said. And one is, he began to quote from Psalms, and he said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" Now, this has led a lot of people to think, oh, Christ got despondent. He became depressed. He didn't want to go through with it. He was reconsidering. No. One thing you have to remember is that in those days, they did not have the chapters and verses as we do today. So the way that in ancient times the Jews would talk about various passages in the scriptures would be that they quoted the first line. But the first line of something doesn't mean that that was the only thing that somebody is alluding to, but rather the entirety of it. Somewhat similar to, occasionally you'll see a poem that its first line is also its title, kind of like that. When you read the psalm that Christ is quoting there, yes, it starts out about terrible, terrible suffering by the servant of God, but it ends triumphantly with a clear implication of resurrection, fascinating. So don't be disturbed. Christ was in no way second guessing himself on the cross. He was just reminding himself of the glory to come. And speaking of glories to come, we hope you'll be with us for the next 2 days on Saturday and Sunday's editions of the Bible, Delight in the Details. See you then.